everyone, my name is Haley and welcome to my channel. I'm sure you can tell by the title. I am currently pregnant with triplets. That's the most surreal thing. I am about halfway through my pregnancy and it's still super surreal to say that I'm pregnant with triplets. I gotta be honest, but I'm very excited to be here and that you are joining me today. I wanted to jump back into YouTube so that I could document my journey with being pregnant with triplets and then eventually giving birth to them and raising them and everything in between. I know that when I found out that I was pregnant with triplets, one of the first things that I did was go to YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and just searched for people that were having a similar experience as me, people who also had triplets. So I want to be able to put my story and my experiences here on YouTube so that future moms who find out that they're having triplets, there's more resources out there for them because it's a lot. So if you yourself are pregnant with triplets, or like I said, are just curious, join me on this journey as I kind of document what it's like being pregnant with triplets and then eventually giving birth to them and then bringing them home. If you're interested in that, click that subscribe button and let's jump into all this wildness. I wanted to start off this video by just doing a little background on me so that I can introduce myself officially to you all. My name is Haley. I am 26 years old. I currently live in Missouri with my husband, Dan, and our two cats. Their names are Cece and Maple. We were born and raised in Minnesota. We've only lived in Missouri for about a year now, but we are Midwest kids through and through. My husband Dan and I got married in May of 2021, so we've been married for just over a year, and we are both very excited to be expecting our first children. That's the other kind of wild thing about this story. I am a first-time mom. This is my first pregnancy, so when I'm kind of talking through in the future about my pregnancy, it's definitely through the lens of a first-time mom. So as I kind of tell my story, you might be able to pick up on the fact that I only know what it's like to have a triplet pregnancy at this point. It's kind of a silver lining not having anything to compare it to, because I can be most authentic in describing what it's like to go through a triplet pregnancy. So let's kind of jump into some of the basics of a triplet pregnancy. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the lingo that goes into talking about triplet pregnancies or multiple pregnancies in general. If you are pregnant with triplets and you have had your first appointment, you probably were very overwhelmed. I definitely was. A lot of terminology is thrown your way. There's a lot of lingo that comes with being pregnant with multiples. So I wanted to break down some of that, some of the lingo and terms that I will be using not only in this video, but most likely in future videos, just for some context, because even with a singleton pregnancy, you wouldn't really ever hear a lot of these terms or things like that. So let's kind of go over those and break down what my pregnancy looks like in a very clinical medical sense, just to break it down. One term that you might hear a lot when it comes to multiples is people asking if it is spontaneous or not. Basically that means, did it happen naturally or did you have the aid of fertility treatments like IVF? Multiple pregnancies are much more common with IVF than they are spontaneously. For my pregnancy, I am known as a spontaneous triplet pregnancy, which means I like to say I was just lucky, luck of the draw. My body just naturally decided that we were going to have 3 babies. So I did not have IVF or fertility treatments or anything like that. So that's a question that kind of comes up a lot. Now there's multiple types of triplets that you could have based on kind of how they were created, I guess you could say. So first we'll start with a very basic biology lesson. As a female, you release an egg, and then your partner, the male, will have the sperm that fertilizes that egg. And that's how a singleton pregnancy happens. A female can release more than one egg and have those eggs fertilized, or their fertilized egg can split very, very early in the pregnancy, and that would result in twins. So for myself, I have a set of twins plus a singleton. So my body actually did both of those things that I described. I not only released 2 eggs, one of those eggs then split into 2. So that's how I ended up with 3. So I have what is known as monodi triplets, and that's how they describe the set of twins plus the singleton. A monodi is a shortened term. I don't know how to pronounce the long term. Maybe I'll put it up here. It's like mono. I don't even want to pretend like I remember what it means, but monodi is the type of twins that I have. So there's multiple types of twins that you can have, like mono, monodi, di. I think there might be a 4th one. I'm not quite sure, but I'll see if I can find a picture of what monodi looks like. So kind of the way that my doctor described it to me was kind of like an apartment building. My singleton is in their own apartment. They are in their own sac. They have their own placenta. I like to call it the kitchen. So they have their own bedroom and they have their own kitchen. My twins, on the other hand, they are in a 2-bedroom apartment, but they still share one kitchen. So they're in the same sac, but they are separated by a really thin membrane, and then they share a placenta. Different types of twins will be varying degrees of this, but that is what it is for monodi twins. So I have the 2 that are sharing an apartment, and then the singleton is in their own apartment. My friends call me an apartment building, and then they call me the landlord. So that is the type of twins that I am having. So that's some of the lingo that you might hear when it comes to triplets or even twins, multiples of any number. You'll hear kind of that terminology about how they are in the womb. One thing that was I think a little bit unique with me finding out that it was triplets is I actually found out really early that I was having triplets. I found out at like 7 or 8 weeks at my very first OBGYN appointment. Like I had mentioned before with being a first-time mom, I didn't know what to expect a lot of the time when it came to like my OBGYN appointments. So I totally thought that my appointment was kind of normal. When I relayed it to other people later, I learned that it was not normal. So let's kind of just dive into me finding out that it was triplets at that very first appointment at 7 or 8 weeks. When I very first found out that I was pregnant, it was actually on Mother's Day, which looking back is a little serendipitous, I feel like. So I took the test, found out I was pregnant, realized I did not have care from a doctor established yet in Missouri. Like I said, we had recently moved to Missouri, so I didn't have a lot of that stuff set up yet. So my thought was I'll find a primary care doctor and maybe they can refer me to an OBGYN since I'm really not sure where to start. So I went to a primary care doctor first, and they did a urine sample and then also blood lab work to confirm my pregnancy. So once they confirmed that, they referred me to an OBGYN, and I was able to go about 3 weeks after that initial appointment. So that's when I went to the OBGYN. I went alone. That's one part of the story that always surprises people. I assumed that it was going to be just a very run-of-the-mill appointment. Obviously it was not, but so I went alone, They first brought me into a room with a nurse and just kind of gave me the lowdown of things that were safe and unsafe to do during pregnancy, like can't sit in hot tubs anymore, try to avoid raw fish or fish that's high in mercury. You know, they give you a whole rundown of things that are safe and unsafe during pregnancy. So they gave me that talk first, and then they brought me into an ultrasound room. This is where I'm learning that not everybody gets an ultrasound at their very first appointment. So my family, who pointed out to me that this was unique, thinks that maybe something in my hormone levels was hinting that I maybe had multiples, and they were checking. No one said anything about this to me. I just thought that everybody got a transvaginal ultrasound at their first appointment, and that's not always the case. So they brought me into the ultrasound room, and I had a transvaginal ultrasound, which is a little bit different than the ultrasound you might be picturing, where they have the wand just on top of your stomach. Transvaginal, like the name suggests, actually goes inside the vagina. So that was a surprise for that appointment. But when she, inserted the wand, almost instantly we saw the twins. And she said, "There's 2 babies in there." And I burst into tears. I kind of had a feeling, I'm not gonna lie, that I was having twins. For some context, a long time ago, my grandma made a comment that there had been twins in the family before and there hadn't been twins since then. So it was about time somebody in the family had twins. And I always thought that she cast a little spell on me when she said that. So when I was going into this appointment, I kind of had a feeling that it could be twins. So I was very excited. I was crying. The nurse that was in the room with me was so excited and supportive. And, we're talking about the story with my grandma. And as she moves the wand, I just hear the doctor go, "Oh my God, there's another one." At this point, I think I kind of blacked out. I don't remember much of the rest of this appointment, if I'm being honest. I think I just stared at the screen with my eyes wide and my mouth just hanging open. I could not believe what I was looking at. And at 7 or 8 weeks, a fetus is the size of a pea. They look like a little blob. There isn't much to see, but I could see that there was 3 of them. And I just sat in awe looking at the screen. And this is when they promptly told me that at that hospital, they did not treat anything higher than twins. So they quickly cleaned me up and basically shooed me out of that place. And like I said, I was in shock. So I was just wandering the halls what just happened? They just told me life-changing news and then basically had to kick me out of there because they couldn't treat me. They weren't a high-risk facility. So that was a little I was not expecting that. One thing that I really appreciated about this doctor's office though, all of the nurses and lab techs were so supportive of me having triplets. Like I said, I was in shock, and they were very kind to me as I dazedly tried to find my way out of this place. But there was one tech in particular, the one that ended up taking my blood, who made a comment about how fun it would be to take a video of telling my husband that it was triplets for us to look back on. And I'm so glad that she said that, because I was so just in another headspace. It didn't even occur to me to document something like that. So the moment she said it, it kind of snapped me back to reality. And I was like, oh, you're right. I have to tell Dan, I have to tell my husband about this. And you're so right. I should film it, because this would be, the most wild thing to look back on. So my whole drive home, I was thinking about how I could set up the camera in a way that he wouldn't be suspicious. Like I said, I was in a complete other headspace, so my idea was nothing fancy. I basically just told him, I want to catch your reaction of seeing the ultrasound for the first time since you couldn't be there. and I took this video. I will show you. I'll cut it short because you know, eventually in the video we just started talking and I forgot that I was still recording, so I'll cut up that part. But I will show you Dan's initial reaction. I will warn you, many F-bombs were dropped. I mean, it's very shocking news. He took it great, but it is a funny video and I do love looking back on it. So I'll insert that here now. Just sit right here. I got an ultrasound, so so I want to get the look on your face. What's wrong? No, I want to get the look on your face because I didn't realize we would do the ultrasound today. And I was like, oh, well, you get to miss out.
Does he have his little nubs? What is that? I don't know. I can't see anything.
It's 1, 2, 3.
Triplets? Are you fucking kidding me? One looks like we only got to do it once. Oh, Bubba. Shut the fuck up.
There's 3 babies.
Oh, Bubba.
And they told me that they would refer me to a different hospital that dealt with high-risk pregnancies, since that's what I am now considered is a high-risk pregnancy. So then it was another, I think, 2 weeks before I was able to get in with a new doctor. If you are high risk or expecting multiples or high risk in other ways, it's not just multiples that go to see this particular doctor, but I no longer see an OBGYN. I actually see what is known as a maternal and fetal medicine specialist. So they specialize in high-risk pregnancies. So I was able to get in with them, like I said, about 2 weeks later, and I had another ultrasound. Now at this point, I think I was about 10 weeks, and they looked much more like people. They had little nubs for their arms and legs, so it was becoming a lot more real to see 3 of them on the screen. It was crazy. I wonder if I can put pictures. If I can figure out how to take like a nice picture and put it up here, I definitely will. The thing with the ultrasound photos, they're kind of glossy. So trying to take a photo of them that doesn't reflect every single light in your house is difficult. So I'll see if I can maybe put pictures here, but they were able to confirm that it was 3, and that's the appointment where they confirmed the type of twins. So they really took their time to look in there to see if there was, you know, the membrane between the twins and that sort of thing. So it was not only to confirm that there was 3, but also the type of pregnancy that I was having, because that affects your care kind of moving forward. So that is basically the first 10 to 11 weeks of my pregnancy, really condensed into one short video for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot about kind of what those first few weeks look like when you find out that you're expecting triplets. Dan and I are very excited. I feel like we've had enough time now that I'm 20 weeks to process and prepare. When we tell people that it's triplets now, we always tell them it does take about 3 to 5 days for it to like settle in and like for you to process it, because it is wild, you know, thinking about it. We can't wait to share the rest of this journey with you. Like I said, I'm 20 weeks, so I still have a few months to go. So we will keep you guys updated as this journey progresses. I can also make videos kind of backtracking a little bit to talk about what the first trimester was like for me, whether that's symptoms or appointments or everything in between. You know, I'll make some videos documenting what that looked like for me too. If you have specific questions or things that you want to learn about when it comes to being pregnant with triplets, please leave them below. I'm more than happy to answer if I know the answer at this point. I know that there's so many questions that are probably swirling in people's minds about what it is like to be pregnant with triplets. I'm more than happy to dive into that in a future video if you guys want. If there's something specific you want to see, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to talk about it. But please subscribe as well if you want to continue on this journey with us. I'm very excited for the rest of my pregnancy and to eventually meet our little ones. So thank you so much for watching this video, and we hope to catch you in the next one. Bye.